Hi, this is Deacon Larry, and this is Renewed. Sometimes we, in the church today, we have the notion that there's one right way to be Catholic, that there's one right way to follow Christ. We might say, for some it's a more traditional way, for some it's a more progressive way. But the reality is, the church has always been filled with different ways to follow Christ. From the workings of the 12 apostles through what became, eventually, the numbers of religious orders of priests and sisters who have served in the church throughout the world. Kelly, who's often here with me exchanging questions, asked the question, she's away today, she asked the question, what's the difference between a Franciscan and a Dominican and a Jesuit when you think of the orders of men in communities of religious life? And quite frankly, they all represent three different ways. We could add the Benedictines, we could add Carmelites, we could add a host of other names, all of them expressing different ways of following Christ. Some in terms of a spiritual value, some in terms of a particular ministry. If you go back to the 7th century, Saint Benedict of Nursia, an Italian monastic who formed the Benedictine order around the concept of work and prayer, a life in which the day was divided between the cycle of scholarship or working in the fields and prayer, and that being a charism or the particular calling of that ministry. In the 13th century, you have both the Dominicans and the Franciscans emerge, two orders who were basically mendicant, beggar orders, who didn't earn a living. Rather, they asked for support for their two particular ministries. Amongst the Dominicans, it was to preach the gospel, to evangelize, to teach against what heresies were present in the church at the time. The example of St. Francis was to be little penitents, to be men and ultimately women of prayer and concern for the poor. Another way, one focusing on truth, the other on charity. And then you go forward to the 16th century, to the founding of the Jesuits, St. Ignatius of Loyola, who was at the University of Paris with a group of friends, who began advising lay men and women who had an interest in the spiritual life and what became the spiritual exercises. And the Jesuits were founded, and really with three important kinds of ways you might look at their ministry. One in terms of their spiritual guidance for those in religious life, those in religious orders, laymen and women. Another, their works in terms of justice and spreading the gospel throughout the world. And the third was their allegiance to serving the Pope. All different expressions. So today, what might help all of us as we think about our Catholic brothers and sisters, those who come and we join at Mass on Sunday, and it's here comes everybody. As we look around at the everybody, we're all unified because we follow Christ. But we all may be very different in the way we do so, much like the Benedictines, the Jesuits, the Dominicans, the Franciscans, or the Carmelites. If you think that way, we might all indeed be renewed.
Please like, subscribe, or comment below.